Orale! Bienvenidos and welcome to the Familia FFP podcast. I'm your host, Jorge Martin, and today I got a co-pilot, un invitado de lujo that I have been wanting to connect with and have on this show for a long time. Met him through a networking group called the Thieves. I'm wearing the shirt right now, so Orale Thieves, ¿cómo estamos? Dave Cruz. He is straight out of NorCal. And he's wearing a Met cap right now, which I approve of because the blue is coming from Dodger Blue. So you can find him at Cruiser128 on Twitter. Dave, mi amigo, it's been a long time coming, and I'm so excited that you're here. Bienvenido. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I'm super happy to be here. It has been a long time coming. You have extended me several invitations, and for one reason or another, I haven't been able to accept. And you're rocking the Thieves shirt. I'm rocking the Snowman shirt. Jerry Reed, the mighty Jerry Reed from Smokey and the Bandit. So yes. Let's talk about some football.
Oh, mi amigo, and we're out of Bimagaden, which I'm very happy with because my teams didn't do very well during that week. I had a lot of Justin Herbert and some on those teams. I had a couple of teams that just didn't even have backup, super flex teams that didn't even have a second quarterback. So how'd you do during that crazy bye week?
I actually didn't really have a terrible week. I didn't have a great week, but I could probably say that about most of my weeks. I have 23 teams. So, if I ever go 23-0, I think I'll hang it up and retire at that point, But there's some teams I have that are beyond help. We'll be talking shortly about Christian McCaffrey. And if you drafted Christian McCaffrey, you're probably hurting. I know I
am. When you think about it, the first round running backs that have paid off have paid off every week have been Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor. And Nick Chubb was doing well for a while, then he got dinged up. I mean, it's just
even Taylor hasn't paid off every week. Early in the season, he just wasn't seeing the ball as much. And for him, he's got to be superly high efficient. So, kind of like Chubb. It's the same situation, right? There's another guy there that's going to get the ball, or two guys, right? So, yeah, they need to be high efficiency. Henry's something else. I call him the modern day Jim Brown.
Just utterly amazing. I totally see that. Another comp that I heard recently was Eric Dickerson, just kind of like that big guy who had that extra gear. And when he hit 21.8 on that 76-yard run on Monday Night Football, I mean, it was just.
Yeah, he's bigger than Dickerson was, right? Dickerson was slimmer than Derrick Henry, and I can't even imagine seeing that coming at me at 22 miles an hour.
Yeah, the other one that's another big guy that thank you, and then God made light. Earl Campbell from Earl Campbell was only like 5'11". He was about 5'11", but 250.
Yeah, but the difference is Earl Campbell never tried to miss anybody, right?
No. He delivered more hits.
He was a tank, and breaking into the open field only happened after he ran over everybody in his path.
Oh, he's still. See, I didn't get to see Jim Brown play. I was born. I think he was one. I think I was one when he retired. But when I say the guys that I've seen play, Earl Campbell's my number one and Dickerson's my number two. So yes, familia. We got some salt going on among the peppers. So you're going to get some wisdom today. So from both of us.
Yeah. Plenty of salt here. That's for sure.
Week 8. So we've talked about Bimagaden. We've talked a little bit about memory lane. Let's get into the first game on that we're going to talk about. We're going to start with the Sunday games, the 10 a.m. games. We got the Carolina Panthers 3-4 at Atlanta 3-3. The Falcons are 3-point favorites, with Atlanta with the over/under being 46 points. Now, you touched on it. CMC, he's not back. He's Dr. Edwin Porras, buen amigo of the show, says he's probably not back until week 10. And Sam Darnold, it's been ugly. I mean, is he just? I mean, is he a permanent sit, kind of like Afuera permanently for the time? In your book?
Yeah, I basically dropped him anywhere where I had him. I don't situation at his feet. They just haven't been playing well as a team, right? And but you got games where Robbie Anderson's getting targeted 11 times and he makes 3 catches for 11 yards. It's just not working for them right now.
Yeah, I pulled up a stat that since week 3,
I'm a little bit surprised.
You're a little bit surprised at how bad
I said I'm a little bit surprised that Atlanta's only a 3-point favorite in that game.
Maybe it's because this game, I mean, it's in Atlanta. Yeah, I mean, I know Atlanta hasn't been good, but I mean, before we get into Atlanta, Chuba Hubbard, while CMC is out, I mean, he's got 15 carries in each game since week 3. Is he a must start every week, especially in this kind of matchup where Atlanta is number 22 against running backs?
Yeah, who else are you going to start? I mean, 15 touches for a running back is pretty good these days. You don't get that. You don't get that from most other teams. 49 running back was valid that played, but that doesn't happen a lot, right? In the case of New England, I mean, you're not getting 15 carries out of the Kansas City backs. So yeah, I think if you have Hubbard, you have to at least flex him.
I think so, and
right?
I think DJ Moore, the wide receiver 9, he's an automatic. I did find the stat on Robbie Anderson. He's got 40 targets and only 14 catches since week 3 for 109 yards. So it's just, I mean, yeah, I think he might be droppable at this point.
Oh, I recommended dropping him weeks ago. Of course, the week I recommended dropping him, he had 11 targets. So, but it's like you say, the efficiency isn't there. This is kind of like how he was with the Jets. You're going to look and
this is
say, okay, well, there's a commonality there. I'm not buying it.
Yeah, it was kind of ugly. It's been kind of ugly. It really looks like the Jets, and this is even a dream matchup because the Falcons are number 30 against the quarterback position. So, but I dropped him, and even with this dream matchup, I dropped him in the one league where I had him because it's just been so ugly, so ugly. On the Atlanta side, I mean, you got Matt Ryan with 300 yards in 3 of the last 5 games.
Yeah, well, Matt Ryan's getting his revenge on me. I basically recommended dropping him after about week 3 too. So, hopefully he's still not in the top 12 quarterbacks. So, if you really want Matt Ryan, you could still go out and get him in a number of leagues. But, as far as Matt Ryan goes in fantasy, if my choice is Kirk Cousins or Matt Ryan, I'm taking Kirk Cousins pretty much every time.
Yeah, I think especially this week, and we'll get into that game in a second. But and we talked about this guy a little bit offline, Cordarrelle Patterson. It looks like he might have taken over the RB1. For even though he's a hybrid, he's got 16. He outtouched Mike Davis 16-4 in the last game, and 0 targets for Davis.
That was
Go ahead.
That was a complete surprise. I've been pounding the Patterson boards pretty much all season. Didn't always practice what I preached. I wasn't picking him up after week 1. And if you didn't pick him up after week 1, he was usually gone by week 2. If it was even a remotely deep league, you're just making dart throws at that point and shuttling guys in and out of your lineups.
No, I got lucky on him in a couple leagues where I just grabbed him and I needed a body in preseason. The one league where I really regret it is Scott Fishbowl, because I think I grabbed Mark Ingram instead of Cordarrelle Patterson in the preseason when one of my players got hurt I was knocked out for the season. So, but here's one thing: Calvin Ridley back last week. 10 targets, but he only turned it into 4 catches for 26 yards. It's a game he's coming off the bye, and also the game where he missed, the London game where he missed because of a personal issue. Any worry that he might be kind of being usurped as the number 1 target for Kyle Pitts?
Maybe he's not getting targeted as much as he could be, but they don't really have another outside threat on that team. Russell Gage hasn't settled into that role. Nobody behind any of those guys looks like they're that guy. So as far as Calvin Ridley goes, to me, he's a plug and play, and he did only have 4 catches last year, but at least he got one of those into the end zone. And he's certainly going to have the opportunities. Matt Ryan likes throwing to him in the red zone. He obviously loves throwing to Pitts in the red zone too. But the fact of the matter is, neither one of those guys are really cashing a lot of touchdowns.
They're not, but Pitts, back-to-back weeks over 100 yards, back-to-back games. I'm sorry. This week there was a lot of debate from the people who were on the Kyle Pitts train before the season, which I was one of them. But now you're looking at a guy. I mean, I'm looking at him for the rest of the season, maybe even a top 3 tight end, at the very least top 5, and with an every week starter, especially now that the bye weeks are gone.
Oh yeah, I mean, at worst he's 4. He may be behind Andrews, Waller, and Kelsey. But even Waller has some down games. He doesn't get 19 targets every game. So there's plenty of games where he has 550 yards, right? There's only one Kelsey.
Yeah.
So a guy like Pitts, I could very easily see him being top 3 at the end of the year. Andrews every now and then disappears as well. So yeah, I love Pitts. I'm still on Ridley. If you want to trade me Ridley, let's talk.
Oh, anytime. Ridley's a guy that I'm really keeping an eye on. Well, let's go over to the Miami at Buffalo. So it's 2 teams really going in different directions. You got Miami at 1-5. They've not been playing well of late. Buffalo 4-2. They're coming off of that before the bye. They're coming off of that tough loss where Josh Allen literally, like, if he doesn't slip, they probably win the game. But on the Miami side, they're traveling. Weather doesn't look like it's going to be an issue. There might be a light drizzle, in the temperatures in the 40s. But to me, it's how is Miami, especially Tua, responding to how are they responding to the Deshaun Watson rumors? Because the trade deadline's coming up on Tuesday, November 2nd. So a little less than a week away from when we're recording this. Tua's been good. He went for 329 yards one week. Last week he went for 291 yards and 4 touchdowns. The numbers have been good. There's been a couple of throws that I'm sure he'd like back, but to me, it's like he hasn't started 16 games yet. But for this week, are the numbers going to be there against the Buffalo defense? That's number 2 that's number 1 against the quarterback.
I'm not rushing Tua into my lineup this week. I like Tua. I was pounding the boards for him last week as a start against Atlanta. on paper, that's not a great start for the Dolphins. I would be surprised if it's another 35-0 game. But Miami's just not really a very good team right now. They've lost 6 in a row, and a lot of those games haven't even really been close. So, as far as their offensive backfield goes, I know Malcolm Brown came out of last week's game. So if he's out, I might bump Gaskin up some. It'd be nice if they could get Devontae Parker back as well. He gives them another. They've had a lot of injuries, but they just haven't been playing well. That's one of the more surprising teams of 2020.
Very much, especially when they were on the cusp of the playoffs last year. And I also don't love teams in domes or good weather who are going up and playing in any kind of weather or even cold weather. Which to me, you mentioned Gaskin, maybe bumping him up a little bit because he might get some work in the passing game. They might be trailing. When they went to Atlanta, he got some work. He got 4 catches for 44 yards and a touchdown. Jaylen, how are you feeling about Jaylen Waddle and Mike Gosicki this week? They've been getting a lot of targets, but again, this is a tough pass defense.
Yeah, I'm more worried about Waddle, and especially if Matt Milano is able to play in that game. And I haven't heard any reason to believe he won't be. Their linebacking core is real tough. So, Gosicki might have a hard time. But Tua does feed him the ball. So, I think Gesicki's startable. I just wouldn't expect a 20-point game.
Yeah, I think especially
as long as Parker's out, he's going to be their main target among the wide receivers.
100% agree. 100% agree. Muy cierto. Muy cierto. Well, let's get into a game. You talked about the 49ers. This is not the 49ers of the 80s and 90s. This is a team kind of in transition. You got they're traveling to Chicago. The 49ers are 2-4, traveling to Chicago 3-4. So two teams that are kind of the 49ers maybe on the cusp of breaking in Trey Lance at the quarterback, and the Chicago Bears getting some experiencing some growing pains with Justin Fields. 49ers are road favorites at 4 points, and it's a 39.5 over under, and it's weather's not expected to be an issue. It's going to be in the 50s and clear. You got with the 49ers, you've got Kittle out, still on IR, possibly back in week 9. You got Jimmy G going up against what has been a good defense. I believe Khalil Mack is question mark for this week. But last week in the rain, is he someone you're thinking about starting this week in maybe a super flex league? Yeah.
Garoppolo? No, I would avoid Garoppolo if at all possible, even in a 2-quarterback league. He didn't look healthy last Sunday. Right. He did do some rollouts, and it kind of was telling that he was favoring the leg where his calf was hurt. So no, big fan of playing Garoppolo right now. To me, the only guy on the 49ers that I would start with any confidence is Deebo Samuel. And they're just not playing good ball right now. Even last Sunday night, they started the game out, they were exploiting over pursuit by the Colts. But once the Colts cleaned that up, they didn't have an answer. They didn't respond. They didn't show it on the scoreboard. They scored 12 points in the first quarter, and they only had that touchdown where they rushed the ball at the beginning of the fourth quarter after that.
Yeah, it's a tough one. What about Elijah Mitchell? You saw one?
I like Elijah Mitchell. If I have him, I like him as a flex. If I have to, I'll start him as a running back too. But again, as the team goes, he goes, right? he had, I think 70 yards in the first couple of drives last Sunday night. He wound up with 100, but, that means he had 30 something for the rest of the game after the middle of the first quarter. So, to me, neither of those teams are very good right now. The Bears, to me, are a complete mess. To completely obliterate the value of a guy like Allen Robinson, takes a lot. Khalil Herbert is a guy I would start. If he's going to be the starter, I wouldn't have wanted to start him last week against Tampa, and he went off for 100 yards against them. But the fact of the matter is, not only,
you were saying they're
not running a lot of plays in a game, and they're running very, very few passing plays. I mean, Fields has dropped back an average of about 27 times since he took over the starting job. And he's getting sacked 4 of them, right? So, that's 23 pass attempts a game. So, if you're wondering what happened to Allen Robinson and the rest of their passing game, it's just it's starvation.
Yeah, he's and the one thing that you look at him, I hear
they're at the bottom. They're at the bottom of the league in any meaningful passing metric, yardage, points. They're a bad offense.
It's so rough to watch sometimes, and it's funny. Like I followed the game last week via Red Zone, and I kept thinking, why are we never seeing the Bears? We're only seeing Tampa, and it's like, oh, I kept looking at the score. It's like, yeah, they're not even getting close to. They're not even crossing midfield.
Yeah,
I hope this doesn't impact Justin Fields, because I think he's incredibly talented.
I like Justin Fields long term, but right now he's, I drafted him as my second quarterback teams, and he's gone now. He's got no value in fantasy.
And that's tough because this should be a good matchup for him. Oh,
yeah, but he tends to hold on to the ball too long. So he's got a lot of things to learn, and I got to wonder how much he's getting coached up.
Yeah, that is the worry with him. And getting back to Robinson, I really hope that I'm not telling people to trade him, just to drop him just yet. I want to see or if he is available in the league, maybe, and you've got a spot open, I said maybe pick him up, because there's a question mark that because he's on a 1-year deal, maybe he gets traded by Tuesday, and he becomes someone that becomes somewhat viable with on somebody else's roster.
Yeah, well, let me put it this way: if he doesn't get traded, then I don't see a reason to hang on to him. Right. Unless you've got a very deep bench.
Yeah. Well, we play in some of those.
I put a tweet out the other night where I named. I put a tweet out the other night where I named 5 guys that were owned in less than 10% of Yahoo leagues that are outscoring Allen Robinson. There's only it's week 8. There's only so long you can wait, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I it's funny. Like this week, I put out a waiver column, but I hardly did any pickups because a lot, the people who are out there, I'm like, yeah, I mean, I play in deeper leagues, so guys, a lot of guys were gone. A lot of guys I was recommending were gone, so I just that was tough.
Yeah, I mean, you had to wait until Wednesday to see who of the desperation Week 7 pickups were going to get dropped.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I grabbed Kadarius Toney with one league because of that. So that was good. That was good. Well, let's get into Pittsburgh and Cleveland.
I started
Dante who?
I was going to say real quick, I started Dante Pettis in 3 leagues last week. So that's how deep it was.
Oh man. Oh, that was not bad. Not bad. We did hear his name come among the touchdowns.
Dante did okay.
He most certainly did. He
had a touchdown. He had 39 yards. 14.9 PPR points. You could do worse. I had Amon-Ra St. Brown in a lot of leagues too, and he gave me a goose egg.
Oh, that one's tough. Yeah, when we get into the Detroit game, we'll get we'll be talking about that one. But let's get into Pittsburgh at Cleveland. You got the Steelers 3-3 coming off the bye. You got Browns 4-3 with Baker Mayfield being a question mark. You got the Browns are 3.5 point favorites and a 42 over under. This is classic AFC North. But when it comes to Pittsburgh. I know they had the whole USC thing, which I thought was comical, and I love the way Mike Tomlin handled it. Big Ben, I don't think he against that defense is startable. But I mean, when are you firing up Najee Harris, Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool without any worry, even in this tough AFC North matchup?
Yeah, Harris and Deontay, no question. I mean, if you've got those guys are producing every week. Even when Najee isn't running the ball well, he's getting fed the ball in the passing game. A little bit more hesitant with Claypool. I think even in the best of times, he's kind of inconsistent. But the Browns are a little bit dinged up on both sides of the ball as well, right? Like you said, you don't know if Baker's going to play. We don't know yet if Chubb's going to play. I certainly missed the boat on D'Ernest Johnson last week. I wasn't recommending him anywhere. And hey, good on him. Good on him. He had a great game.
I had him as an emergency break glass play.
He was when last year he had the 13 rushes for 95 yards against Dallas, and then he was the starter either the following week or a couple of weeks later and just did pretty much nothing. That didn't happen this year. Part of the nature of the Broncos. I mean, the Broncos linebackers have been dropping like flies, and Von Miller got hurt last Thursday night, and I'm certainly interested to see how he's doing this week.
I know, just to keep an eye on, because that's a defense that suddenly that was a strength. Now it's something.
And I'm fine starting up my Browns. I'm not a big fan of their passing game, even if Baker Mayfield plays. I mean, that's a run first team. And even when they are throwing, you've got 3 viable tight ends. You've got Beckham. Hopefully Landry's able to play. I know he got dinged up towards the end of the game last week. But you've got a couple of other capable receivers that get targets. You'll get 3 to 4 targets. Donovan Peoples-Jones a couple of weeks ago was the star of the game, right? It's just they don't lean on a guy. You're not going to see a wide receiver there get 12 targets. They're going to do what they need to win. It's kind of like Kansas City. You've got Mahomes, you've got Tyreek Hill, and you've got Travis Kelce, and outside of that, you're throwing a dart. So as far as the Browns passing game goes, no, I'm not crazy. I the only guy I feel confident starting on the Browns, and we'll see how the Steelers handle that. There's guys that will help the Browns win. The Browns may win that game without a star. in their
Yeah,
offense.
It's one thing. It's one thing to beat the Broncos. It's another thing to beat the Steelers. And the Steelers' defense has been pretty healthy. But Nick Chubb is Nick Chubb, and hopefully, and it looks like the left side of his offensive line is back to where it was. So, I'm
If Chubb's back, you're plugging him in.
Yeah, big time. Now, last one on those guys, Austin Hooper, David Njoku, any of them startable in kind of a tough matchup? I mean, I know tight end is bad, but how desperate do you have to be to start either of them?
Only place I have Browns tight ends is in best ball leagues. And it's in super deep leagues where, I punted the third tight end until like the 22nd round. And I might have said, okay, well, I'll take David Njoku here, or I'll take Harrison Bryant here, and hope they cash in 1 or 2 weeks.
No, I hear you.
I'm taking that back. I am a fan of their tight ends, but there's too many of them. 3 tight ends equals 0 tight ends.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of a play on the old, if you got 2 quarterbacks, you've really got no quarterback. So
that's right.
Well, let's get into Philly at Detroit, which is this game I think we're going to be able to zip through because there's not a lot of, I don't know how many guys are really likable in this one, but you got Miles Sanders who's probably going to miss this game with an ankle injury. You got, Jalen Hurts who is, I mean, geez, I recommended him in the preseason. It hasn't been pretty, but he's still QB2 at this point.
Oh yeah. He's usable every week. I mean, he's their best running back, right? I mean, he's the only one that gets 10 or more carries a week. So I'd start Gainwell if I had him. And in a pinch in a deep league, look at Boston Scott. To me, the receiver that I would want there is Devontae Smith, and I'm fine with Dallas Goedert.
That's the thing. Goddard now, there's no Zach Ertz there. And the Lions, they're number 13 against the tight end position, so they're not horrible against there. But I mean, it might be a volume play with
Goddard. They're not pushovers, right?
How about on the Detroit side? You got T.J. Hawkins. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm smashing DeAndre Smith every week. I am so happy he's paid off because I was really nervous. I have a lot of shares going to also be Bymageddon for me. I've got so many Swift shares. There's going to be some replacements going on. I'm comfortable starting Jamal Williams, not expecting more than 10 or 12 points. Hawkinson, you've got to start Hawkinson if you have him. It's a case of where it's not always pretty, but you're almost guaranteed at least 8 points. And at the tight end position, you could have a guy go off for 16, or you could have a guy give you 2. I mean, I look at a guy like Robert Tonyan, who has been my whipping boy lately, right? Robert Tonyan has had 2 games where he's had touchdowns this year. I think all the rest of the games he's had around 3 points in PPR. You can't live with a guy like that. So, yeah, you've got to start Hawkinson if you have him. Being off on my friend. Now, I know he got a little bit dinged up in that game last week, so keep an eye on that. I wouldn't be completely averse to starting him if you need him, but considering only the Raiders and the Ravens are on bye this week, I don't think you're in that big of a pinch.
Well, let's go to a game that has a little more fantasy relevant. Oh, Goff. Goff startable? I don't think he's startable this
Goff
week.
is startable. He's startable. He's startable in.
Yeah, I mean, I think he is, because he's going to compile stats, and they're going to be trailing from behind. But I think they're going to win this game. I really think they're going to win this game. This is going to be their first one. They're going to break that 0-for slump, and
yeah, they're 0-7, but they're not terrible. They just make bad mistakes at the wrong time. I mean, they had a real shot in that Rams game.
Yeah,
and you may want to put that on Goff. He did get he got hit when he was throwing the ball on that pick that Ramsey had. So them's the breaks, right?
Yeah.
Not
I think it was,
everything is always in your control.
And I think it was his old friend Aaron Donald who was the one who hit him. So, you only hurt the ones you love, right?
Right. I mean, the most overrated defensive player in football, according to all the armchair IDP players.
Oh, jeez. All right, they should go watch a highlight reel of Aaron Donald. All right, well, let's get into another game.
The guy. Yeah. Real quick, he does things that don't show up on the stat sheet. That's why people love him.
And he makes other guys around him better, because he draws so much defensive attention himself. It's amazing to watch. I mean, I get the Ram games on every week, and I definitely see the impact that he makes. It's an incredible player. I mean, there's a reason why I think The Athletic made him one of the top 30 players of all time when they did their recent top 100. So amazing. Well, let's get over. Let's talk about another amazing guy.
Unlike. Yeah. Unlike JJ Watt, Aaron Donald stays healthy. Right.
Yes. So, knock on wood. Unfortunately, sorry, JJ. Hopefully,
availability. Availability is the best ability.
Muy cierto. Very true. Well, Tennessee at Indiana. So you got Tennessee coming off two incredible wins over the Bills and the Chiefs. Derrick Henry, he's on a pace to break Eric Dickerson's record by 5 yards. So and he hasn't even hit his winter is coming point. But I mean, on this one, even though Indianapolis's defense has been pretty good, I mean, are you firing up everybody, even with Henry, AJ Brown, who seems to be back, and even Julio if he's healthy?
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of the higher scoring games of the weekend. I'm perfectly fine starting all of the studs in this game. You're not sitting Derrick Henry ever. He just gets the ball way too much. He didn't have a great game last week, but every now and then that's going to happen. The guys, one of the popular narratives in the offseason was the curse of the 350. Derrick Henry's not that guy. He's a different cat. He's not Priest Holmes. He's not Danian Tomlinson. Derrick Henry's a truck. Those guys are Honda Civics, and Derrick Henry's a F-150, right? So, not having Derrick Henry, I'm not tremendously worried about the Titans stopping Jonathan Taylor either. The Titans are a weird team. They tend to play to their competition.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they struggle in some games you wouldn't expect them to. They do enough to win. And, to me, the big anomaly, the AFC champion yet. So I think that this is going to be an excellent game. I'm fine starting Wentz. I'm fine starting Taylor. I'm fine starting Pittman, Henry. You're always starting AJ Brown. I even think Ryan's starting to talk about dropping in one quarterback leagues as well. So,
I made that mistake in one of my leagues.
Playing those guys. Of course, Julio Jones is going to carry the questionable hamstring tag for his whole career, I'm afraid. But
so
if he plays, play him.
Yeah,
because he can make that gifted, right?
Yeah, he could still make a play like the one.
Made an incredible catch last week.
Yep. It seems like he's still going to make a crazy play. I mean, I wonder. It seems like he's fine with being the number 2 guy behind AJ Brown. Probably mostly because AJ Brown talked about how Julio's his idol.
No, those guys. If Julio can play, and if Julio can play effectively, both of those guys are a problem for defenses. Both of them together, they're both still top wide receivers in the NFL. If you've got 2 of those guys on the same field at the same time, it's a problem. So
one last option to talk about with that game is Ally Cox. He's got 4 touchdowns in the last 4 games. So if you're stuck, you've got Darren Waller or Mark Andrews. Maybe he's a play for you.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one position that could be a problem this week is the tight end position. And I am starting Ally Cox in a league. I have Waller, and there's no other options. Yeah, I'm comfortable with Ally Cox in a pinch.
Well, one of the things that I know, I don't think either one of us were thinking about coming into the 2 months ago was that after week 7, the Cincinnati Bengals would be the number 1 seed in the AFC. So, they're coming off of that huge win against the Ravens, and you've got a road game against an inferior opponent. Could this game be a trap? Could they, start to be reading some of those headlines? Is there a concern that might be the case?
Yeah, it could be, but it's the Jets. The Jets could be a trap game, maybe a game that they underperform. I think they could underperform. I think they could play a third as well as they played against the Ravens and still win that game. The Jets just aren't there yet. They're a team that's got a massive rebuild ahead of them, and as tough as Zach Wilson has had it so far, he's out for probably a month, and Mike White is going to be starting that game. And one of the reasons that the Bengals have been so successful this year is their defense has been above average. Their defense has been unexpectedly very good. So, I don't see a way that they lose this game. It could happen. That's why they play the game, as Chris Berman always said. So, but no, I don't. I am starting every Bengal I have. Burrow, Chase, Boyd. I may be disappointed by Boyd like I am virtually every week. T. Higgins, Mixon. I might even flex like a Pirine if I'm desperate for a running back. On the Jets side, who are you going to start?
I
Michael
think
Carter, maybe.
I think he's the only one that's possibly startable on that team.
Yeah, I mean, there's a possibility that Corey Davis has a decent game. He's the known commodity in the passing game, and I've got to think they're going to have to throw the ball quite a bit. The unknown is Mike White. You don't know what he's going to do. But, I don't see too much to like on the Jets side of the ball, and I'd be very surprised if they upset the Bengals.
So we've got another Superior Road team. Actually, one guy I forgot to mention on the Bengals, CJ Uzoma is another potential. I mean, I pumped him up on my waiver wire show earlier this week. He's got 5 touchdowns in the last 4 games. I mean, he's kind of that he's kind of becoming a little bit of what Robert Tonyan was last year, where he's 10 touches,
I
scored 10
called him
touchdowns.
I called him Robert Tonyan light on my waiver wire show this week. Sure, as long as he's scoring touchdowns, great. But this is a guy getting like 4 targets a game. You're kind of flipping a coin there and seeing if he scores a touchdown. To me, I'd rather have a guy that's getting more opportunities like a Ricky Seals-Jones.
I hear you on that. Yeah, exactly. And a little bit more friendly offense with a little bit more pass friendly offense. Well, let's go to the Rams at Houston. So Rams at 6-1, Texans 1-6. I know this is another ugly one. The Rams are 14.5-point road favorites. I never loved that big a number on the road, but 47.5. I mean, in this game with everything surrounding Houston right now, I mean, I'm not looking at this as another potential trap game with the road for a superior road team.
They just traded their workhorse running back, if such a thing exists there. Mark Ingram got his get out of jail free card and got to go back to his original team. I suppose you hope on the Houston side for a game where it's an extremely negative game script and they got to throw 40, 50 times. I'm comfortable starting Brandon Cooks virtually every week. And the guy I'm keeping my eye on who's been back a couple of weeks is Nico Collins. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I'm not really crazy about Jordan Akins, Phillip Lindsay, David Johnson. Be interested to see how the workload goes for the running backs now that Ingram's out of there. But for this week, no, thanks. And the Rams, you're firing up all your guys every week. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. Cooper Kupp has been the fantasy MVP so far. Oh. He's just been unbelievable.
For where he was drafted, I think in a couple of leagues, I got him in like the 6th round or something like that.
Yeah, if you're getting him in the 5th and 6th round, and he's one of the highest scorers among wide receivers or running backs. He is the bargain of the year, and he's arguably the MVP. For fantasy.
One sidelight in one of my our familia is so big that we have 2 leagues. So the second league is a super flex league, and one of my primos is a huge Ram fan, and he keeps offering me 2-for-1 deals, and I keep telling him, I'm like, look, I'm not giving you Cooper Kupp in a 2-for-1. I'm like, you give me. He had Jonathan Taylor. I said, give me Jonathan Taylor, and I think you still might be winning the deal.
Right,
straight up.
Yeah. Hard to argue. The only thing that derails Cooper Kupp is an injury to either him or Matt Stafford. And I watched the Lions game against the Rams last week, and the Lions are actually not a terrible defense. They are able to generate some pressure. They weren't really able to generate much pressure in that game. The Rams look like they're going to be a tough out come January.
Yeah, they're going to be a problem. They're really good offensive line. They've got some issues. People have been talking up their special teams issues, but I have a feeling those are going to be at least cleaned up to be passable. Robert Woods, though, I mean, he's had one game in week 5 where he had 12 catches on 14 targets for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's the wide receiver 19 right now. I mean, could this be a game that he?
Well, to me, Robert Woods is a guy I've always stayed away from in non-PPR leagues, because he doesn't get a ton of yardage and he doesn't score a ton of touchdowns. But in a PPR league, he's a pretty safe floor guy. I love him as a wide receiver 3. I don't know that I was drafting him ahead of Cooper Kupp in many leagues. When Kupp's healthy, and that's really the only question about Kupp, he commands the targets there, and he can score from any point of the field. Robert Woods can too, but for some reason Stafford tends to miss him just a little bit, and pretty much every quarterback he has been in the same boat. I don't know exactly what it is. I like Robert Woods. I'm starting him. No question. I'd even start Higbee this week.
Oh yeah, definitely in this one. As light as tight end is, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm not crazy about Van Jefferson, but to me, that's a guy that's touchdown dependent.
Yeah, Desean Jackson's another one. I started him in a couple of DFS lineups because he usually gets one or two long bombs thrown at him a game, and I was doing it on the off chance that he scored.
Yeah, he might pop a 75-yarder, right? But if he doesn't, you're starving. I think I only saw him get targeted one time in that game last week.
Yeah, and it was an incomplete. So it's all good. It's all good. You take your shot.
Oh yeah, you play a hunch. It's low key gambling this game.
All right, well, let's jump over to the afternoon games. We got the New England Patriots at 3-4 going to the Chargers 4-2. Chargers are 5-point favorites. The 49-point over under. You got the Chargers. The Chargers who are coming off that 45-0 victory, 45-0 loss last year. So, but I mean, you look at they're such a great defense against the pass. One of the best. Does that make Mac Jones just not very much of an option this week?
As far as the Patriots go, I would hate to have to game plan against the Patriots. Say what you want about Josh McDaniels. He is absolutely one of the best offensive minds in the NFL. He will do whatever it takes to get points on the board and then leave it up to the defense. It's not going to be another 45-0 New England blowout from last year. And, the Chargers are coming off an ugly loss to the Ravens. Which was a huge surprise to me. Maybe it shouldn't have been. The matchup probably wasn't that great for the Chargers. But, they've had a week off to plan for this game. And if they're not ready, that's on them. Of course, you're starting your Chargers. You're starting Eckler. You're starting Herbert. You're starting Mike Williams. You're starting Keenan Allen. I'm probably going to be starting even Jared Cook in a couple of places, even though New England tends to be good against the tight end. But, you've got a lot of weapons coming at you. I don't know that they're going to be able to focus on one guy, and I doubt they are going to want to focus on Jared Cook if they are focusing on any one guy. If I wanted to stop somebody in that offense, it would be either Herbert or Austin Eckler.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're going to be able to do that this time around. This is going to be a very interesting game because it's going to be, what did Herbert learn after that shutout after getting shut out last year? And again, do they take out? Are they able to take out Eckler? And they haven't. They've been okay against both running backs and receivers, but this is going to be. I'm very intrigued by this game. Very intrigued. But I mean, I'm firing up Damian Harris in this one big time. The Chargers being number 30 against running backs.
Yeah, that was a nice surprise last week when New England deactivated Ramondre Stevenson. I was doing the fire dance trying to replace my shares of Ramondre Stevenson right before game time. Between that, Sterling Shepard and Devontae Parker, I was in a hurry. Yeah, I'm comfortable starting Harris. Maybe even, I hate to rely on a guy like Brandon Bolden. He had a great game last week, but he could completely disappear this week. I'm starting to warm up to the idea of Mac Jones. To me, he's a must start in 2 quarterback leagues. Mm-hmm. If they give him the ball more, he just seems to be getting better all the time. He is absolutely the rookie that was most well prepared for the pros and got into the best situation. So other than that, Bourne and Nelson Aguilar deep dives. Those are guys you're hoping score touchdowns. If there's a guy in the receiving game I want, it's Hunter Henry.
Yeah, against the number 31 defense against the tight end. So and it's a revenge game, as nobody's pointing out.
The Hunter Henry revenge game.
Well, we got about 10 more minutes on this one, so we got a few more. This next one, Jacksonville at Seattle, with Seattle being a 3-point favorite and 44-point over under. I mean, I like what I've seen out of Trevor Lawrence, so I think he's very startable this week, especially against that defense. They've been very generous against the pass. James Robinson's. I mean, I feel pretty comfortable with Trevor Lawrence and James Robinson, and maybe even Marvin Jones.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence and James Robinson. I'm starting to warm back up to Shenault. They look like they're trying to get him more involved. You never know with Urban Meyer, but I'm warming up to the idea of Shenault. And for Seattle, with Geno Smith under center, it's kind of hard to start their receivers. The ceiling just isn't there for DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. And even for Tyler Lockett, the floor is not really there. I mean, so who are you starting? Maybe Alex Collins. They didn't. I was wondering if they would work Rashard Penny into the game more than they did. They really didn't. They couldn't really run the ball against New Orleans. So I think I'm a little bit higher on the Seattle offense than I was last week. And I'm starting Collins. You have to start Metcalf. Maybe Gerald Everett. I'm just uneasy. I'm just uneasy starting Lockett. And I know as soon as I bench him, he's going to have 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. So maybe this is that.
I know.
Well,
I mean, the one thing with you were talking about Everett. I mean, that's the number 30 defense against tight ends. So that one's something. That one's definitely something.
Yeah, Jacksonville's defense doesn't scare me, and I think it's probably going to be a game where Jacksonville's going to have to throw the ball quite a bit, but it should be a close game because I don't dislike Geno Smith. I kind of actually root for Geno Smith, but I just don't think the decision making is there. He doesn't seem to process things quickly, so he winds up getting a lot of pressure, and it just has a hard time of
it. And their line isn't very good. I mean, I don't know how
they're good Jacksonville. They're good enough to stay in games. That's right. That's what they always do. I think they should win this game, but I wouldn't be shocked if Jacksonville pulls off the upset.
Yeah, I mean, I usually come down when there's a decided advantage at quarterback. That I think it can happen, but I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is ready to win on the road yet. Get a big win on the road yet, but we'll see. We're gonna see. Yeah. We got 3 more games to plow through. Right. So we got Washington football team at Denver, with Denver being a 3-point favorite, 44-point over under. I mean, you got the WFT. I think we might be seeing the end of the Tyler Heineke experience with Fitz coming back.
I don't know. I actually heard that Fitzpatrick hasn't been cleared to practice. I think Heineke's going to be the quarterback as long as they need him. He's not terrible. He's not going to win you games, but he usually doesn't lose you games. Washington's just kind of an enigma to me this year. They're one of the more disappointing teams, and I just can't figure that defense out. Their front seven's still great, but they just can't stop anybody. They're not easy to run on, but they're certainly easy to throw on, and they just give points up in bunches. But on the other hand, Denver doesn't score points in bunches. If there's a game that Washington can win, this is a game that they should be able to put in the win column. As far as Denver goes, I'm not averse to starting either Melvin Gordon or Javonte Williams. I'm not expecting huge games from either of them unless one of them emerges as, the workhorse, but they're playable. Hopefully Jerry Jeudy's ready to come back. I'd love to see him back. I've got him in a number of leagues.
Yeah.
You've got to play Sutton, even though I'm not sure he's even completely healthy yet from the knee injury he suffered last year. Fant, you've got to play, but there's another guy you get 5 points from or 15. Teddy in 2 quarterback leagues, yeah, you've got to fire him up. And on the Washington side, Heineke in 2 quarterback leagues, you've got to start Gibson if you have him. I hope this shit issue clears up soon. It's an even number week, so I'm totally comfortable starting McKissick. McKissick has been kind of dog meat on odd number weeks, but he's been great on even number weeks. So we'll see if that trend continues. If I have him, I'm playing him in a flex role. You just the possibility of a 10 reception game always looms with that guy. And of course, you're playing Terry McLaurin, right? And if you're in a pinch for a tight end, Ricky Seals-Jones, I love him.
RSJ, I've been recommending him all over the place.
The tight end is a key part of that offense.
Huge part. Yeah. Huge part. Well, we got two more games. Tampa Bay. This is going to be kind of a barn burner. It's one of the in the late afternoon window. Tampa Bay 6-1 at New Orleans in the Superdome 4-2. It's the Bucks are 5.5 point favorites, road favorites at 50 points. So it's not looking like they're going to have Antonio Brown nor Gronk. But I don't think that mattered because we saw more volume from Mike Evans and Chris Godwin last week.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Tampa Bay's a juggernaut. Tom Brady's playing arguably the best football of his career right now.
Amazing.
It's amazing. It is amazing. I feel so fortunate to have been around to see this guy play his entire career. It was hilarious seeing him on with the Mannings on the Monday night game. I don't know if you saw that, but no, he did that. They obviously have affection, all three of them, both Peyton and Eli and Tom Brady. And from all accounts, Tom Brady's actually a nice guy. So, but he's incredible. You're firing him up every week. Right now, I think he's the leading quarterback in fantasy.
Leading quarterback, and he's ahead of
formats.
And he's ahead of the pace that he was on in 2007. He's about 150 yards ahead of where he was.
He's throwing 4 touchdowns a game, right? I mean, I looked at it last week, and he was like 10-19, but he had 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Right in the first half. He's just a marvel. Ronald Jones is one of the biggest misses I had this year. I certainly thought he was going to have a bigger role in that offense. I'm comfortable starting Fournette every week. You're starting Evans. You're starting Godwin. Without Gronk, I don't know if you need to start O.J. Howard or Cameron Brate.
Yeah, I don't think
if you're deep diving, I guess you could throw a dart at Tyler Johnson. And I'm sorry, who were they playing again?
The Saints.
Yeah. You're starting up your usual characters on the Saints. If you feel comfortable starting Jameis, then start Jameis. I'll try to hurry up here. You're definitely starting Kamara. And if you have to start receiver, you're starting Callaway.
Absolutely. If you have to, you got to start Callaway. Yeah, I don't know if I think they're just waiting for Michael Thomas, or maybe they try and get someone maybe they try and trade for Allen Robinson, or maybe they try and get Brandon Cooks back. So that'd be interesting.
I'm beginning to wonder if Michael Thomas actually exists. I think he was a figment of our imagination.
He was a mirage a couple years ago when he set the record for most receptions in a season.
He's like Bigfoot.
The one thing about the Saints, though, you got Jameis Winston against a secondary that's not that good. And I looked at his game log, and I looked at what he did against Washington football team.
Yeah.
And he threw 4 touchdowns against them and threw for 279 yards in Washington. So that has me thinking this game could have some shootout potential, even though the New Orleans the defensive backs have been pretty good against Mike Evans and Chris Godwin.
Yeah, Jameis has had a couple of games. He had a 5 touchdown game in week 1. He had that 4 touchdown game. But the fact of the matter is the Saints are the runningest football team in the NFL. They run the ball more than they pass the ball. And I think that's, if they can pull it off, they may not be able to pull it off this week, but they definitely don't want to get in a situation where Jameis can cost them the game. Jameis can win a game, but Jameis can definitely lose a game.
Yeah, playing a lot better this year. And it's going to be very interesting how they work in Mark Ingram.
Yeah,
back into the offense, and maybe they take a little bit of the rushing load off of Alvin Kamara, because he's on pace to run.
The fact of the matter is, Khalil Herbert had 100 yards against Tampa last week, so that kind of takes some of the mysticism out of the Tampa defensive attack. If you're willing to stick with the run, I think you can eventually kind of get some cracks. So we'll see if New Orleans gets into a situation where they got to pass. We'll see how Jameis does with that. But I think they would rather have the ball in Kamara's hands than Winston's.
I hear you. Well, last one, Sunday Night Football. We got the Dallas at 5-1 at Minnesota 3-3. You got Dak with the calf injury, which is kind of reminding me of a few years ago where Aaron Rodgers, was named MVP, played more than half the season battling a calf injury that just needed a rest. This is a game. I think this is another game that can run. You've got the Cowboys, who are a well-oiled machine right now, playing good enough on defense. You got Minnesota, who's again getting better on defense, but you got their home with Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson, and maybe a healthy Dalvin Cook. This is a game where if you've got anybody, you're starting them.
Yeah, game of the week for me right here. I love this game. Of course you're starting all those guys. Those were two of the teams I missed most last week during the buys. You've got Elliott, who's having a tremendous year with less volume than he's used to. They've been working in Pollard. Pollard's certainly reasonably useful in as a flex player. CeeDee Lamb, every now and then he'll have a bad game, but I'm betting more on good games. Of course, if Dak's not able to go, that certainly changes the overall calculus of the game. But I'm betting if Dak can play at all, they're going to put him out there. I love Kirk Cousins. I don't know if they'll ever win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins. I don't know if they're that great of a team. But of course, you're starting Cousins, you're starting Cook, you're starting Jefferson, you're starting Thielen. I've been a proponent of KJ Osborne, knowing full well that he could give you 4 points, but he also has had a few games where he's given you 15 or more. As a wide receiver 4, I love him. He's one of the guys that has more points than Allen Robinson. So, and as far as a tight end deep dive, I'm not against starting Tyler Conklin this week. The Dallas defense has certainly been opportunistic more than solid. Trayvon Diggs is just, you got to be careful throwing the ball around him. He just flies around the field. I don't know if he's a sound defensive player, but he's certainly an opportunistic one. And with a defense like that helps. I said there were 11 teams that have not generated a defensive or special teams point so far this year, and Dallas leads the league in 18. So, this is a game I'm looking for to be really exciting.
No, I love this game. I love this game. I think this is Kirk Cousins also plays better at home than he does on the road, which I think Justin Jefferson could have a big game, even though he'll get on Trayvon Diggs, because as you mentioned, he does get in the last game. He got the pick six, and then he got beat on the very next play. So
yeah, it was actually I'm positive it was the same play.
Yeah,
I think New England ran that play twice in a row, and the second time it worked. Right. It was a throw to Kendrick Bourne. And the second time Kendrick Bourne got behind Diggs and Mac Jones put the ball on the money and Bourne was gone. Right.
Oh, man. Well, Dave, muchas gracias. Esto fue un gran placer. I so appreciate you joining us on the Familia FFB podcast. We're going to wrap up now. Hey, you know what? I know you're a lot of different places. I also want to say that you were one of the biggest proponents, fans, the king of the Marching Chowder Society for our beat writer insider series from the summer, and I can't thank you enough for that. Just cannot thank you enough.
I loved it. I really enjoyed it a lot. It was nice to hear people knowledgeable with the teams talk about them, right? So thank you very much for having me. I had a great time. I will take the time to say I hope your dog takes to his shots, and I won't keep you from that any longer. Thanks a lot.
Muchas gracias. Oh, and where else can they find you?
I do a weekly waiver wire show for 32 and 32 fantasy football. You can follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is on the screen. And that's just about it. Every now and then I will pop up on somebody's show.
Awesome. Well, we're going to have you back, and I'm glad we were able to kind of muddle through the internet issues. It looks like they kind of cleared up for us.
Yeah, it looks great now. And we just didn't have time to talk about tacos. So,
well, you know what? That's just going to have another reason to bring you on another time.
We may have to have the taco show next time.
Awesome. Well, everybody, eso es todo for our show. If you haven't already, please make sure to like and subscribe to our show on YouTube. Also, un millón de gracias to the folks over at Anchor for being our hosting network and putting us on Apple, Google, and Spotify. Please make sure you subscribe on the audio podcast. You can find our original content, familiaffb.com. You can find me at Jorge Martin 17 all on Twitter, and also at familiaffb on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Otra vez, Dave, thank you so much. Un millón de gracias. And everybody, todos somos familia.